Well, she asked. Oh, in case you don't know, this is one of the main writers of the show. I've already given a thematic analysis of Jade Armor and how it handles the concept of legacy, which I do recommend. And it was through that video that I learned that my younger brother actually watches this show. So in that vein, I figured I could give a more constructive analysis of the writing, look at how it was written and what did and didn't work for me. Spoilers. Now of course, I'm not in the show's target audience, so I'm just going to give an abridged testimony of my siblings' thoughts on it. My 6-year-old brother says that it's his favorite cartoon. He likes the fights with the Crimson Lord and Jin Yan. His favorite character is Jade. His favorite villain is the Crimson Lord. He also wants a movie. My 13-year-old sister says she likes the Chinese influences and the Beasticons, as well as how the show balances LJ's normal life and her superhero life. Her favorite character is Alicia. Her favorite villain is the Crimson Lord. Unfortunately, they're both too young to make full-length YouTube reviews, so I will take on that burden. Jade Armor is a French animated cartoon about Lan Jun, a girl who becomes the new bearer of the Jade Cuff. The cuff in question comes with 4 elemental animals, the Beasticons, who guide her and can transform into a set of armor that makes her the latest in a line of superheroes called Jade Armor. Specifically, Jade It. A decade ago, her mother, Shang-Chi, the previous Jade Armor, defeated her arch-enemy, the Crimson Lord, causing her to disappear and his armor to shatter into numerous tiny shards that scattered across the city. Now those shards are reactivating and causing chaos based on what they are embedded in. Jade has to protect the city, Bangtang, from the mysterious shard effects that plague it and stop the revived Crimson Lord from getting those shards first and using the chaos to recreate his armor. She also has to deal with 2 other opponents, Black Tiger, a thief with a penchant for stealing magical beasts using magical items, and Jin Yan, one of the Crimson Lord's Beasticons who has managed to gain free will through a shard and has a hatred for humans as a result of his time with the evil overlord, seeking to free his fellow Beasticons and all of the animal kingdom from human suppression. Fortunately, LJ has the support of her best friends, Theo and Alicia, her father, and her grandmother and great-grandmother, collectively called the Grams. They provide support while she tries to protect the city and figure out what happened to her mom, who turned into pure energy after her last battle. One of the central lessons of the show for LJ is to not do things alone. Though it would really help if the show didn't feel the need to teach this lesson multiple times. Hearing Shenwu say that Jade's work alone in the finale after like 20 episodes of working with her friends and family is hilarious. 3 other characters of note are Will, a bumbling genius janitor who is the Crimson Lord's devoted minion, Kai, LJ's crush, and Pearl, Black Tiger's daughter and LJ's classmate / sort of rival / tutor. Now, I actually really liked how the first episode introduces us to Lan Jun. When introducing the audience to something, creators have to deal with a limited amount of space. I'm writing my 3rd manuscript, and I'm also aware of the limited amount of space you have to hook the audience. That being said, I think this episode makes great use of the time travel mechanic of the problem because it technically manages to have an in medias res opening mixed with the proper introduction. Technically, LJ has already begun her adventures as Jade Armor before the first scene, but the time travel mechanic means she forgets what happened and we get to see her go through her normal day anyway. It's interesting because it means we the audience are technically experiencing a shard effect, which would go on to be the main cause of problems in Bangtang. We see the confusion that can be caused by it from the point of view of our main character. This preemptively creates interest in what's going on. Though I do have to say, I'm a bit confused on how she managed to get to the position of falling off the clock tower without once putting on the Jade Cuff. Now here's something I'm not quite sure of my position on. LJ's thinking. I've had problems with some exposition because it felt too much like the characters were talking to the audience with no one around to hear the things they are saying to themselves. And one thing I noticed about LJ is that she doesn't say much of the exposition out loud. She thinks it, especially for things it would make no sense for her to go out of her way to talk about to others. However, the voice actress's voice seems to have been put through a filter for these moments, which makes it feel a bit out of place. Especially because they are delivered with a lot more monotone than LJ's actual speech. And because of the tone they've set with her thoughts, when she has to emote a lot more, she still says the exposition out loud.
No happy birthday? Maybe someone texted.
I can't believe this. I mean, I know the Grams can be forgetful, but I'm their one grandkid.
At least someone remembered.
It's kinda jarring. The first episode focuses on exploring the shard effects, so the second episode introduces us to the first of the biggest complications when it comes to purifying shards: villains trying to use those shards to their advantage. LJ faces off against the Crimson Lord, the enemy the previous Jade, whom she just found out was her mother, sacrificed herself to defeat. And if that's not bad enough, she's been affected by a bad luck shard that causes her to make mistakes. In this episode, she must overcome both. When I describe it like that, you probably wouldn't expect how lighthearted the show treats the Crimson Lord. Oh, he is a threat, but he's still treated mostly like a source of comedic relief, what with being stuck in the form of a bucket of dirty water, which undermines the moments where he's suddenly supposed to be threatening. It makes me question just how evil this guy is supposed to be, because the vibes I get from him are less evil overlord and more spoiled greedy kid everyone kind of has to put up with. Connected to the way the show treats the Crimson Lord is how he keeps getting away after every defeat. Like, people just watch the janitor minion come mop him up and run away with no attempt to stop him. The same is kind of true for other antagonists, but it's most blatant with him. Jade Armor makes no actual attempt to stop by enemies beyond whatever their current scheme is, and it only kind of works for Xinyan because he's a Beasticon and the only way to stop him would be to literally rob him of his individuality. I mean, she finds out where Black Tiger's lair, which is under her shop, is via the sewers, but makes no attempt to figure out where that is topside, even though in her civilian life she's well aware of where the shop is. Heroes just letting their villains walk away to cause trouble another day is always annoying. Speaking of the other antagonists, Black Tiger is treated a bit more seriously, and while Xinyan can be just as much of a joke as his ex-master, it fits his character a lot more without undermining what the story is going for. The second episode also begins LJ's character arc of learning responsibility as well as having to live up to her mother's name. I've already given my thoughts on that theme in my thematic analysis, but I barely brushed on LJ's actual growth as she has to fill her mother's shoes while seeing her own value as the next Jade, especially when she learns that she was never supposedly chosen when the shards started showing up. It's all riveting stuff and provides a through line for the more episodic morale she learns as the show goes on. The show makes great use of the shards to explore these ideas and her relationship with her mom, be it the reality-altering shard creating a representation of her insecurities, or the dimension-hopping shard allowing her to meet another version of her. Xing-Chi appears quite a bit in this show before her actual first appearance. I find that the show is kind of ambitious in how it treats the concepts that have become standard in shows like it. LJ basically makes everyone in her circle aware of her identity by episode 3. This strips it of the chance to do some classic adventures of the genre, but it also creates opportunities for new things with a significant support structure behind her. And that pales in comparison to how the show ends. In a time when shows with formulas like this can often fall into the trap of overly reusing those formulas to the point of exhaustion, the idea a kid's cartoon would disrupt its formula so hard in the finale of its first season is notable. Between purifying the Crimson Lord, whatever that means, and Xinyan's character arc coming full circle, Black Tiger is the only actual threat left, and she's on vacation. I don't know what the plan is for the next season, but I hope it's not just going back on this. There's definitely more to explore in the magical nature of this world. But it also raises a question on another topic, the law, which is probably something not very high on the list of priorities in this show, but this show just raises several questions. Why are the shards so powerful? Why can Jade absorb the Crimson Lord's armor? How is Bayou the youngest Beasticon? Why do their powers even exist? How does Jade purifying the Crimson Lord even work? I mean, technically, I don't think it's an absolute must to answer these questions. Except for the last two. Those are the kind of details I feel shouldn't be left up in the air. Also, episode 4 reveals there's a real dragon inside the statue in the park and literally no one cares. The show is majorly episodic, but with traceable storylines running through it. Relationships in it are established and developed over the characters' appearances, and the character arcs are spread across various episodes that make the growth so much more natural. For some examples, Alicia's conversation with Xinyan in The Rise of Xinyan, leading to her advising LJ to take the seemingly sick Beasticons to him in The Catalyst, as well as what seems to be a deeper friendship between the two of them by the finale. Xinyan's conflicts with the other villains and how they want to take advantage of him. Pearl and LJ's cold relationship evolving into friendship. Shenwu's attitude being shown to be a result of blaming himself for Jade 7's disappearance in the pomegranates. Besides character-focused episodes, my favorites are the ones where we get to see shard effects run rampant, like LJ and Pearl being compelled into being best friends and becoming incapable of fighting each other in the thread, and the whole city being affected by TV shows in Jade Noir. Then again, that's sort of cheating because both of those episodes have important character moments too. And with that, I suppose we should move on to talking about the characters. I've spoken at length to LJ, Kai and Pearl's character arcs in my previous video, so now I want to look at exactly where their characters start and their relationships with each other. LJ is a cheerful girl, but kind of scatterbrained, which is why it helps she has such a big support network to rein her in and guide her. She's trying to be a worthy successor and has to learn to calm her mind and focus to better her capacity as Jade Armor, as the majority of her arc is focused on her development into a hero who is both a worthy successor and in some ways superior to those who came before, knowing when to try something new and when to listen to her teachers. She's the protagonist of a kids cartoon, so she does a lot of learning, both in the character and the fighting department. The show does something interesting with LJ coming to accept herself as Jade Armor when she confronts what's essentially her inner self. Except instead of so many other shows I've seen, her inner self is actually helpful instead of something to overcome, helping her see how far she's come as a hero while she doubts herself. It strikes me as a situation where she's learned all the lessons subconsciously but isn't cognizant of what they mean in her conscious brain. Kai is a bit of a bad boy, the skip school, overly rebellious kind that's explained by what we know of his family and his thoughts on them. But he isn't a bad person. He wants to be free from his father's probably criminal shadow, but ironically leaves himself open to be manipulated by the Crimson Lord's definitely criminal actions. While I praised what he was doing thematically, I don't exactly buy the idea someone would think the Crimson Lord is misunderstood, even with the magical connection that seems to make Kai more susceptible to his own rage and the Crimson Lord's influence. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Crimson Lord pretty much yells about his intentions from the rooftops. Did Kai forget about the Crimson Lord threatening him and a bunch of innocent teens in Jade Con? Regardless, I like that it at least took Kai a significant number of episodes to warm up to the idea. And at least he eventually figured out he was being played. Pearl has one of the strongest personalities in the cast. She's smart, capable, ambitious, and she knows it and isn't afraid to say it, but only because it's usually true. When she opens her mouth, you know whatever is about to come out of it is something few other characters in this show would ever say. She's very focused on what she wants, beginning the series with very little care for others as long as what happens is in her favor. An understandable mindset for a cat burglar in training who wants to impress her mom and prove herself. And then there's how they relate to each other. Kai is LJ's crush, though considering in the alternate dimension they're dating, I'd say he probably likes her back. She sees the best in him but is worried about him falling down the wrong path under the influence of the Crimson Lord. However, LJ doesn't help him so much as Jade Armor does, helping him see the obvious thing that I feel escapes the entire cast sometimes. The Crimson Lord is a very serious threat to the city. In all honesty, I find her relationship with Pearl more interesting. I wouldn't say Pearl bullied her, but she did look down on her. Pearl got the job of being LJ's tutor when she started falling behind, which opens the door to them becoming friends and eventually figuring out each other's secret identities. This leads to the culmination of Pearl's arc being both of them working together to keep her mom from making herself disappear while drunk off power. I do wonder how Kai and Pearl would interact. All three of them had to work together in JadeCon, but that was more about teaching LJ humility than actually seeing their dynamic. Although Kai has currently been shipped off to boarding school as punishment for his actions with the Crimson Lord, these three do still have interesting potential for future storylines. I have ideas, but this is a review, not a theory/fanfiction video. 4 other characters to note are the Beasticons, the mystical beings that make up Jade's Armor. We don't actually know much about them besides the fact that they embody the power of elements in one way or another. They aren't the most revolutionary characters, but they are fun in their own ways. Shenwu's my favorite, then Xianlong, Baiyu, and Zhuchui. Then there are the villains. I've already given my thoughts on the Crimson Lord and how I'm not sold on his portrayal versus reputation, but he is entertaining. The fact he's my sibling's favorite is probably information the writers would find more valuable than anything I could say. Also attached to the Crimson Lord is his assistant, Will, who is the unique kind of incompetent where he acts and does dumb things, but is also a legitimate genius and martial artist. He and the Crimson Lord make for a very entertaining duo. Personally though, I like the other two villains more. Black Tiger's constant striving to one-up her sister and the ridiculous logic around their family of cat burglars is entertaining enough. Plus, her direct targeting of the Beasticons makes her kind of a wild card compared to Xinyan and the Crimson Lord's general troublemaking. That and her tech theme. Her relationship with Pearl, clearly caring for her but not exactly being the best parent because of the flaws that make her an entertaining villain, really elevates her as a character. I'm also glad she's the one that's still a villain. Between her relationship with Pearl and Pearl's relationship with LJ, there are still a lot of avenues to explore with them. Also, Jarbon.
Give me your most distressed squeak!
She also plays a pivotal role in Xinyan's arc as basically everything he hates about humans. Xinyan is last but not least. I think he might actually have the best character arc in the show. He's at least competing with LJ for that title. He goes from hating humans, to really contemplating them, to tentative alliances with Jade, to being a real ally over the course of his appearances. Plus, he's funny. Then there's Jade's allies. The Grams are supportive and wise, working to impart their lessons to LJ and teach her to be a better Jade. I don't find their gags that funny, but I think they work as mentors. I hope they don't get retconned into being former Jades themselves though. I feel like that's something that could happen, but it shouldn't because it messes with things established in this season. Haddad isn't on my list of the best characters in the show, but he works as support LJ needs as well as his utility as a researcher and the bridge between LJ and her mom. He does exactly what he needs to. So does Shang-Chi, or at least versions of her that appear throughout the show. She's serviceable for her role as LJ's icon and the figure she'll have to match and surpass. I can see why Lan Jun respects her so much. She's characterized as more rigid and less forgiving than her daughter, which emphasizes LJ's arc of becoming her own Jade Armor. With all that said, in all honesty, the character doesn't blow me away. I like Alicia. I don't like some of her dialogue, but I think she's entertaining. She's LJ's girl in the chair, and by that I mean she's the tech expert. I hope she gets more to do in the future. I don't like Theo. I mean, I kinda do, as long as he isn't getting focused. I feel like his being a fanboy is used to justify decisions that will very obviously make things worse, but he does it anyway, like in The Kitty and Monkey Mind. Like, I get that it's to further conflict, but that doesn't change how I feel. The most interesting thing about him is that in the alternate dimension, he's the one the Crimson Lord targets as an ally. Doesn't make me like him more. Beyond them, the side characters are serviceable. A little dumb, but I know what kind of show I'm watching. It's not a kid superhero show without an extremely gullible civilian population. Overall, I thought that Jade Armor was pretty good for what it was, with surprisingly good character development sprinkled through its episodic runtime. The fact that it actually ended and closed so many story threads in the first season also makes it very notable. But then that creates a bit of a conundrum. The show's formula was good, but the decision to essentially let it go means season 2 will need a new conflict. But I have enough faith in the writers' ability to make the changes they've made in everyone's dynamics work while creating new conflicts that are just as entertaining. I mean, we still have restoring Shang-Chi and the Crimson Lord to human forms, the history of houses Jade and Crimson, Black Tiger and her family, the origins of the Beasticons, Xinyan's fellow Crimson Beasticons, Jade unlocking new powers because if just the shards of the armors are strong enough to do half the things they do in this show, she and the Crimson Lord should be ridiculously overpowered. That last one is less objective than the rest, I admit. What did you think of Jade Armor? Did you like it? Did you like this video? And did it make you want to check out the show? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you, and good day.